Hey everyone, how's it going today? I wanted to show you an install. You can see my car is up on jacks. The hood is open just to bring a little bit more light in. What I'm going to be installing is the Boomba short shifter plate. You can see here it's for the 2015 Plus WRX short shifter transmission plate, as well as the Boomba short throw shifter. I bought these from Image Import Racing. They were really about $30 cheaper, and then I don't even think I paid any shipping on it, so it was a pretty good deal. I'm going to work on this transmission plate first, just figuring knock this out just in case someone already had a short shifter like STI and just wanted to do the plate as well. So let's get into it here. Whenever you're under the car here, you're going to be removing the heat shield. So it's going to be 4, I believe 12s, one here, and then it's going to be there and there. So once you get those done, this one may be a little tricky because the downpipe is over it, but that's where a good box wrench is going to help out. So now I have the heat shield off. I just want to reference, here's the front of the vehicle. You're going to be taking off your whole transmission arms here. It's going to be 17 on this side as well as on the other side here. 2 14s. Pull this off, and then you'll have 2 14s here, 2 14s here. You'll have this piece off. Then the last will be 14s on this side as well as 14s right over here on the other side. So they'll come off in 3 parts. I'm going to be working on that now. Once you have your heat shield off, it's going to look like this. 2 holes here, and then just 2 in the back. So here's the transmission. Arms all out. It's the top, mid, and then rear. What I like about these installs is I can clean all this stuff up before I put it back in. But one tip that I have is go ahead and crack all of the bolts before you start actually undoing anything, because the way the transmission mount is, say you take this off and you're working here, well, this piece is going to flex now since it doesn't have this holding it, same like near the end here. So that was just my tip. Go ahead and crack everything loose before you start getting to it. It makes it a whole lot easier. Same for reinstall, just hand tighten everything up and then tighten it down securely to spec. We'll move on to the next thing now. Next step is to find those 2 12mm bolts right there and remove the plate cover. Pretty simple right here. Alright, so still looking at the front, you're going to move up, and this is the shifter plate cover. There's going to be a 12 right here, 12 here, a 12 right on the other side of this, as well as 1 on top. So 4 total. I'm going to be removing these now. As you're looking under the car, I finally got that plate off. It was a little difficult getting the very top one removed, but again, here's the front of the car. I attacked it from reaching over from this side, just putting an arm up here, rather than on the left side from this way going at it. There's not going to be any space coming from this way, coming from it from the back, so I attacked it coming around from the front, just kind of overhead over all of this stuff here, and I was able to get it. Did come at a little bit of a cost, just to say I have a band-aid on my finger now, wear some gloves and trying to get the top one out. It's just my suggestion. Alright, let's go on to the next step. Now the next step, if you've done the shifter bushing, parent shifter bushing, all you do is take off this pin, pull this off, and they tell you to disconnect up here, but I think I'm gonna try to bypass that and just swing this around. And then once you remove the bushing, which is right here, there's a pin right up in your shifter plate. May have to show you again afterwards, but you're gonna punch it out and remove your factory plate. So here's the difference in the plates. This one is definitely a whole lot thicker and heavier. This one is pretty thin. So as you can see how it lines up, about the center's the same, but the Boomba has the same thickness all the way around. So I'm going to be getting to this one right now, and just for I guess quick reference, whenever you're knocking that out, if your punch set is too small, what I did is I took a socket extension and put that on the end of my actual punch, and then hit on the end of the socket extension. That way it made it a little bit longer. So that's a quick tip for you if you run into not having enough room for your hammer. Alright, I'm going to be inserting the pin right into here, and I'll be punching it back through to secure the new one in. Another thing I did was took off the transmission plate part that was held right here. That way I had more room to access, as well as on this itself there's a little C clip that fits in here. So I took that off to be able to get the shifter cable out of the way. Now I have the shifter plate installed. It's a whole lot easier than I expected actually to hit the pin back in. I think the hole in the middle is actually bigger than the shifter plate, so it gives you a little bit of wiggle room just in case you're a little bit off on your punch. So what I'm working on now is just putting the whole assembly back together. Remember, it's easier to put on your bushing and then put the cable over the bushing rather than putting the bushing into the circle on the cable and fitting it back over. Whenever you're putting the shifter bushing back on here, make sure you put the washer included shifter bushing, the washer included in the stock shifter bushing, and then your cotter pin. I have it finally installed here. With the parent shifter bushing, I did have to take a drill bit and kind of run it through the parent shifter bushing a little bit to open it up more, because it didn't fit correctly on the Boomba shifter plate. So if you buy it and you already have the parent shifter bushing, make sure that it fits on there solid first before you have it up, because I did not want to have to punch the pin back out to fit it. So it was just some trial and error until I got it to seat correctly, but no problems with it at all. Whenever you actually put the cover back together, the actual big cover that I took off, that was the 4 bolts, you're not going to replace it. Basically, let me get it here. The only thing you're going to put back on is this piece here. So I'm going to be doing that now, and then also putting the transmission brace back on. Now whenever you're doing the transmission brace, the 17mm bolts are supposed to be torqued. Spec is 109 foot-pounds, but I honestly think that you're good 80 and above. Whenever you're doing any other of the bolts, it's going to be 52 foot-pounds torque. And whenever you do these two here, these you need to be really careful. They're only 26. So if you don't start getting an actual torque on them, just back it off and re-look at it again, because these can actually be broken pretty easily, which may not make much sense, but a dealership with just an impact messed mine up before. So it's a week later after putting the transmission plate on. I actually had busted up my finger pretty good here. It split the skin, so I still can't even close my hand all the way. It's held off on doing the actual Boomba short throw, but with just the plate, I've noticed a huge difference in just putting it in first, and then moving down into second. It feels as if just middle and click down going into third, fourth, fifth. It seemed like I had a push out before, but now slide right up into fifth, sixth, back into neutral, the reverse. What I've noticed is it seems as if the shifter would come down about right here. I can show you a little bit easier here in fourth gear, but the shifter, yeah, would definitely come down where the top of it is about right here. And same going up. It seems super short going up, which really enjoy. It's taking a little bit of getting used to, but I notice in between shifts, or if I'm getting into boost and wanting to shift from second to third, it just seems a whole lot more quick and precise. Wanted to just get with you guys. I'll be doing the short throw shifter here, or the short throw actual, I guess you would say rod here pretty soon. But as always, happy driving and enjoy.